everybody, Ike here. Welcome to a brand new edition of In the Shop. And I've got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking about the top 6 baits for fall fishing. Top 6 baits for fall fishing. You know, here we go. We're at the end of the summer. Weather's getting cooler. Water's getting cooler. And we are entering the fall pattern. So here are the top 6 baits for fall fishing. You heard me say a word over and over, and that is baits. Well, bait is one of the keys in the fall. You know, no matter what segment of the fall you're in, whether it's the early fall, the fall feed, or the late fall transition, no matter what period you're in the fall, bait is a key element. And, you know, when I'm talking about bait, I mean forage. I'm talking about the forage fish that live in that lake. You know, fall is so key for those fish feeding up, getting ready for the next period, which is winter. And they instinctively know to fatten up, to feed up before the encroaching wintertime, right? So bait is so key. It's the one time of the year where it becomes my main focus is following the bait. And then, of course, I'm going to talk right now about imitating the bait. And whatever that bait is in your local fishery, it could be minnows, shad, alewife, herring, darters, whatever that forage, that bait is, those fish are going to be feeding on it in the fall. They're going to be following it. Okay, so in no particular order, here are my top 6 fall baits. First one, what a classic in the fall, and what a great bait that imitates a lot of different forage. It's the good old spinnerbait. And when you look at that spinnerbait, you know, the great thing about a spinnerbait is the blades have flash and vibration, and the blades are about the size of a lot of baitfish forage in a lot of places. The other great thing about a spinnerbait in the fall is it's got a pretty snagless design, and it's versatile. So you could fish it shallow near the top, you could fish it mid-depth, you could even slow roll it toward the bottom. It comes through grass, wood, docks, rocks, comes through all that cover extremely well, and it does a great job of imitating baitfish. My favorite is more of a compact spinnerbait, a smaller spinnerbait. This is one by Mullex called a water slash. If you look at it, it looks like a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait, but this thing actually weighs a 1/2 ounce. And that smaller profile but heavier weight gives me a lot of control with what I want to do with that bait. I can do a lot of different things with it. So spinnerbait is number 1. Number 2, and this one is so good in the fall, not only at imitating baitfish, right, imitating the forage, but also of finding the fish. A lot of times in the fall, especially when we're talking early and late, the fish are grouped up, but they're grouped up in small areas. You need a lure that covers tons of water and can trigger a reaction strike. Well, guess what? A crankbait is that bait. You know, you look at that one, this is a Rapala DT6. I love the DT series. And my school of thought on DTs is I pick the depth of a crankbait that runs as deep or a little bit deeper than the depth of water I'm fishing. So I have DT4s all the way to DT20s. The DT6, 10, and 14 are 3 of my favorite sizes in the fall. But I stick to bait patterns, shad patterns. I love blueback herring. I love a color called Smash. And this is one of my favorite fall color patterns in the DTs, and it's called Disco Shad. And it's a great baitfish imitator. But again, in the fall, early and late especially, a lot of times you have to find the group of fish. And you can do that by covering a ton of water with a crankbait. So number 2 is crankbait. Okay, number 3 and 4, I'm going to group together because they're both sort of the same, but 2 different presentations. So 3 and 4, give you 3 first. Number 3 is the good old hard jerkbait, a hard jerkbait. And this is a bait by Rapala. It's called a shadow wrap shad. They also make a great one called a husky jerk. So many good jerkbaits out there on the market. But a jerkbait in the fall, as far as imitating bait, look at the size, look at the profile of that, look at the color. Imitating the size, the color, and the profile of the bait. But the movement, how that bait's moving, that slashing, unpredictable kind of side-to-side movement, that's why a jerkbait in the fall is so good. Especially in situations where you have slightly stained to ultra clear water. Okay? A lot of times in the fall, you're dealing with lower water, clearer water. When you have those conditions, so hard to beat a hard jerkbait. Smallmouth fishing, spotted bass fishing in the fall, you got to have that. And especially when those fish are in that feeding mode. And in another In the Shop, we're going to be talking about the different fall segments. But when they're in that fall feed, when they're gorging, when you've got them found, you use the crankbait and the spinnerbait, you found them, that can catch so many fish from that school of fish, is a hard jerkbait.